Alright, so this is going to be a tutorial on how to use the Windows command line. So I'm using Windows 10, but your experience is going to be very similar if you're using any other version of Windows. Just figuring out how to start the command line is going to be slightly different. So Windows 10, we have this search bar down here, so I can just type CMD and it'll pop up this thing that says command prompt. Just click it. If you're using earlier versions of Windows and you don't see this, there could be a thing over here that says search or run. Just type in CMD and hit enter, and then it should just pop up the command prompt. And actually it opened up my other window here. Okay, so here's some basics of what it does. So it opens this window. This is called the command prompt window. It's gonna just give you some default information every time you open it about Windows, and then it's gonna give you a path. So this path is the path to the directory of your logged in users folder, basically. So just to compare, I'm going to open up the File Explorer, and then if you go to C drive, users, and then find the name. So mine is Drago, but if whatever your username is, it's going to show up on here that you logged in with, and then open that folder. So you can see C drive users Drago, and that's the same as this. So we are now in the same directory on both the command prompt window and on the Windows File Explorer here. And then this is the actual prompt. So you can see this little flickering cursor indicator. So that's where you type, and then all good. Okay, so a couple things to note. So when you're typing in things, so if you do dir or dir in all caps, it doesn't matter on Windows. You can do either or. And then when you are needing to do something with a space in it, so for instance, my documents, it's not how you spell documents, you can't do something like this. You need to wrap it with double quotes in order to work with files or folders with spaces. So this is why developers typically recommend that you do not name any file or folder with spaces in it, because it makes your work harder. Not a lot harder, but it takes extra effort to actually wrap things in quotes instead of just being able to type it very simply. Okay, so the very first, very basic command that we're going to learn here is how to list out the files and folders in the current working directory. So the current working directory is where you're at. So on File Explorer, you have a visual indicator. So I am at this directory, which is the same as that, and you can see all the files and folders in there. So how do you do that on the command prompt? You type dir and you hit enter. Okay, and you're going to see all these files here. You're going to see the same files as what's over here. So if you look for .bash history, that's down here. .config, it's probably up there, and notice that there's a dir here with the less than and greater than symbols around it. That means that it's a directory or it's a folder. So .config is a folder, but .bash history was not a folder, so that's why it doesn't have that dir. You also notice that the date modified field is here, so it says the date and the time that it was last modified, and all that is the same. Okay, all right. So let's change directory. So we want to move from the current directory to a new one. So on the File Explorer, how you would do that is you would be like, let's find desktop, and just double click it, and now you are in this directory. How do I do that on the command line? So what I do is, if I'm in the current directory, so dir, and if I can see the folder just using that dir command by itself, then I can do a command called cd, so that's change directory with a space, and then type in desktop and then hit enter. And then now you notice that my path here is the same as my path here. So if I do a dir, it's going to give me the same files there. Alright, okay, so another way to change directory is you can give it an absolute path. So absolute path means that you're going to give it the whole path. So if I wanted to go back to that Drago folder, I can just do C:\users /Drago and hit enter, and now you can see I'm back there. And if I wanted to do the same thing to go forward, cdc : /users /Drago /desktop and hit enter, and same thing, I'm now in the desktop folder. What if I wanted to go backwards one folder without having to type in all that stuff? There's a way to do that. So you just do cd space ... So that will take you back one folder. Okay? So what if I wanted to go all the way back to the C drive? So I could do cd C drive : like this, and that would work. Or I could just do cd ... /... So the first ... is going to take me to this backslash, and then I'm putting a backslash there, and then next ... is going to take me to the next backslash. So if I hit enter, now I'm at the C colon. So if I do a dir, you can see these are the files here. Let's go to the same place. So C drive, okay? And you're going to be like, wait a minute, how come you have more files over here than you do in your command prompt window? That's because I have my settings set. So on my file explorer, I can see hidden files, but you cannot see the hidden files on the command prompt because those are system files, and usually you don't want to mess with those, but I know what I'm doing, and so I want to see all those files because sometimes I need to interact with them. All right. Okay, so we are on the C drive now. So what if we want to create a new folder? So in order to do that, we're going to use the command mkdir. So mk for make, dir for directory, and then put a space, and then you give it the name of the directory that you want to create. So I'm going to create something called test. Okay, and if I do a dir command right now, you can see now we have a test folder here. You can see that also populated there. It's the same folder. Okay, so oops, I made a mistake. Let's change up and remove that test directory. So to remove, you're going to do rm for remove dir, and then the name of the directory. Hit enter, and watch over here, it disappeared, and then I'll confirm that dir no longer shows it. Alright, so let's create a file. So just to create a simple text file, so we can do that through here. So let's once again create that test directory. So if you remember how to do it, go ahead and do it. If you don't, all you do is mkdir space and then test, the name of the directory. Okay, and now move yourself into that test directory. See if you remember how to do it. Okay, if not, cd space test and enter. And now we are in that test directory. So inside of here, we are going to create a file. So we're going to open a notepad through the command line. So let's do start notepad, and then we're going to do something called testfile.txt. So we're going to open notepad and have it create a testfile.txt file. So hit enter, and you can see it says, cannot find the text file, do you want to create a new file? So go ahead and hit yes, and you can see that, and we can close this because we don't need that anymore. Inside of here we have a test file now, and if I do a dir, it's also displaying there. Alright. Okay, so let's move back to the C drive. So do you remember how to do that? Alright, and cd space ... We're back at the test file, the C drive. And then let's try to remove that test folder. So rm dir and then test, hit enter, and it says the directory is not empty. Okay, so the command prompt is smart enough to know that there are either files or folders inside of the directory that you're trying to delete. So it worked before, it let us delete the directory before because there was nothing in it, so we couldn't really hurt anything. But now that there's files and folders inside of it, now it could be a problem. So it's trying to help you protect yourself from doing something really bad. So if you are sure you want to delete that folder that has stuff in it, then you can do an rm dir, and then you're going to do a /s and then the name of the folder. And then it's going to ask you once again. So even though you put that little command in there, the /s to to kind of force it to go through, it's still asking you, are you sure? Because once it's gone, it's gone. So go ahead and hit Y and then do a dir. You can see that the test folder is gone. It's gone over here, so all is good. All right, so let's create that folder once again. So make dir and test, okay, and then move into that folder, okay, and then let's create two more. Let's create test1 and test2. So remember, no spaces for your folders. So mkdir test1, mkdir test2. And if you do a dir command, you can see both files there, or both folders there. You can see that they're folders because there's a dir next to them. Okay, and then let's once again create that file. So start notepad, and then we'll just call it test.txt. Save and close it, and let's do a dir. Okay, so we can see that file is inside of here. So let's move that file into one of our folders that we created. So how do you move it? So move is actually move. So move, and then test.txt, and then the destination. So you put the command move, you put the file you want to move, and then you put the destination. So test1. Okay, it says one file moved. You can do a dir, and you can see that file is gone. If you cd into test1 and then do a dir, you will be able to see that file is there. All right, so let's do something different. Let's make a copy of that file. So copy is just the command, and then you can kind of guess test.txt. So the file, and then what if you're copying it inside of the same file, you can't really name it the same thing because it's gonna get you can't have two of the same exactly named files in the same folder. That's just how computers work. Okay, but you can change it to something else. So I'll call this test1.txt. Okay, so it says copied. I'll do a dir. You can see there's two files in there now. Okay, and then let's do one more thing. So let's do copy and then test.txt, and then let's do a space and then do ... Okay, so remember takes us back one directory. So go ahead and hit enter. So let's do a dir. So everything is still there. Let's cd and space ... and go back, and then do a dir, and now you can see that it copied that file to the previous directory up. Okay, all right, let's take an example of this test file isn't very fun, so let's make it more fun. So let's do a rename. So rename test.txt, and let's call it fun.txt. Okay, and if you do a dir, you can see that file has been renamed. Okay, and what if you just don't like that file anymore? So let's do a delete. So del fun.txt, and then do a dir, and you can see that file is now gone. All right, so let's do something here. Let's go ahead and open up Google here, and then search for Notepad++. Hit enter, and then click download, and then go ahead and download this guy here. So it's just 32-bit x86 installer. It's gonna do its thing and download. Takes a few seconds here, and good to go. If you go show in Finder, it will show you where you downloaded it at. So copy. I'm actually going to copy the installer, so let's go ahead and copy this and then put it into our test folder here, just so that it's easier to find. And I'll close that. I'll close that. Okay, so if I do a dir, you can now see this npp.771 installer, blah blah blah. Yours might be a little bit different. It's just depending on when you installed it. So what we're going to do is we're going to open that installer from the command line here. So type in npp.7.7. Let's actually make this shorter. So let's rename that. Let's see. Let's rename npp, oops, because that's a horribly long name. 1.installer space 1.exe. And remember how I said you need to wrap these in quotes, so let's put a quote around these things. Okay, so rename that file to, we'll just call this npp.exe. Alright, so do a dir, and you can see now it says npp.exe. So to open that, npp.exe, and hit enter. And Windows thingy pops up asking you if you are sure you want to run the installer. It showed up on my other window here, and you can see that the installer has launched. And you can go ahead and cancel that unless you want to install it. Just to confirm that it's the exact same thing, if you double click on this, it'll behave exactly the same way that you see. Okay? Alright. Okay, so let's see. What if you forget all these things that you've learned in this lesson? Type help and hit enter, and then it's going to give you a bunch of commands that you can use. Okay, just kind of remember the syntax of the patterns, like command space something, and then sometimes space something else. So you can usually kind of stumble along and figure out what you need to do, and if not, kind of use the help or kind of Google it, and then it's be all good. Okay, so I have so much text on my screen right now, so how do I clean up my screen so that I can have a fresh screen? Well, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can close this and start over again, but that's kind of annoying. You can just type CLS, and that clears the screen. So if you scroll up and down, you can see that everything is gone, but it's just the view that's gone. So there's a thing called command history. At least I'm calling it command history. It's if you hit the up arrow on your keyboard, you will see the last command. So you can see there's all those commands there. So if I do like a help, I can hit enter. If I do a CLS, and sometimes when you're hitting up, you can hit down to get back. So it's like all good to find the other commands that you're using. And remember, these commands are only there for as long as this window is open. So if you click this close button and close the window, then you're on a clean slate. You don't have any of those commands in memory anymore. Okay, so let's do a dir, and there's a thing where you can do autocomplete. So let's do cd space and then capital T. Let's do a tab key. You can see that it autofilled test1. If you do tab again, it'll give you test2, and it'll keep on cycling through there. So you can use just like a couple letters, like I can do test, it does the same thing, or if I just do a space and then tab, then it'll go through the folders in there, and you notice that it knows not to pick up that npp.exe. It's because I'm using the cd command. Alright? Okay, and the last thing I'm going to show you is how to kill this window. So to close the window without hitting that X, you just type in exit and hit enter, and you're all good and clean. Okay, so this has been a short tutorial on how to use the Windows command prompt. It's very important for you to learn how to use it, because if you're doing anything with development, Node.js, anything like that, you're going to be in the command prompt all the time. So it's very important that you learn how to use this well and be comfortable and be quick on how to use the command line so that you can do stuff and not look silly in front of the other developers and all that good stuff. So, all right, have a good one.